Haney Biz presents Entrepreneurs Unlimited. And here's your host, Mark Haney.
Welcome back, and it is an honor and a privilege to bring on Brian Bennett, the founding partner, not the CEO, of Paul Martin's Chain of Restaurants. How you doing today, Brian?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I appreciate you coming out on Saturday morning. I know you're getting ready to make a trip to the wine country and hang out with some good friends.
Yep, gonna head up to Napa today and do a little bit of wine tasting at Silver Oak and Frog's Leap and some of our great partners.
Oh, sounds like a tough day.
It's a tough day today.
Gosh. So let's talk about Paul Martin's. You created a business plan and found a partner and found a way to launch one of my favorite restaurants. Tell me how you got started.
It was a dream, of mine to create this restaurant, and I happened to be fortunate enough to find a gentleman whose name is Paul Fleming, who believed in the same dream that we had. I mean, we connected about food from the first time I met my partner, Paul.
And tell me about that dream. What's the Paul Martin's dream?
The dream was to create a restaurant that we wanted in our neighborhood. We wanted to have food that you could find in fine dining restaurants in downtown San Francisco, but was unavailable to people on a daily basis at an affordable price. So the dream really was about sustainable seafood. It was about all natural proteins, chicken and beef without hormones that everybody's talking about today. But at Paul Martin's, we've been serving those for 9 years in every restaurant. Right?
Yeah.
Had to develop our own production line, go out and forge relationships with people that grew that protein, those chickens and that meat to enable us to have a supply as we grew our brand. So that was the dream, really about featuring wine that was affordable and grown in California and around the world, that was grown in a responsible way and stored in a responsible way, and just trying to do the right things when it came to business from a sustainability and from a healthy standpoint.
Tell me about the business plan and how you ended up with Paul Fleming as your partner.
Well, the business plan came about after we sold our previous business, and we were living in Rockland, and we wanted to stay local, so we decided that we should build the restaurant that we always wanted in our own backyard. And so we really had a high bar. So we went around the country and actually to Paris to look at the way people fed people in a responsible manner and what was going on in the world of restaurants and dining, and not fine dining, just in dining in particular. Though a lot of the things that we stole from or ideas that we borrowed were really mostly in fine dining at the time. All scratch cooking, using only sustainably farmed products and organic products, and beef without hormones or antibiotics, and grass-fed, and fish that was on the list of sustainable fisheries, which is why you don't see a lot of things on our list at Paul Martin's. It's on purpose. It's not that we're trying to continue so that was the dream. And through some friends, Paul and I got an opportunity to meet, and then a couple months later, he goes, "Can you guys really cook that food you're talking about?" So we met, and he goes, "Man, I believe that this works."
Well, now you had a background in the Chevys opening. How many stores did you guys have underneath you in Chevys?
150, 160 restaurants.
150, 160. And he's P.F. Chang's, right? He came from P.F. Chang's?
He was the founder of P.F. Chang's, along with Philip Chang and Fleming Steakhouse and Prime Rib Barn. And Paul's involved entrepreneurial-wise in a lot of other businesses, all food around the food and restaurant business. So, and he had really just stepped forward and said, "Listen, if you're going to do this, I want to be your partner, but I only want to be your partner. I don't want to have other partners. I think it's hard enough to open a restaurant, let alone have a bunch of partners to answer to. So if two guys are in alignment and you're willing to do all the work, then I can help you make this happen." So, and I don't mean all the work, but I do mean all the groundwork and really getting in there and being responsible and respectful to the guy that actually allowed you to build the dreams that you wanted to. I mean, he allowed it to happen.
You bet. And now you guys have 10 restaurants. You're getting ready to open the 10th?
Yeah, we just opened our 10th restaurant in Pasadena, California. So, and it's doing great. Thanks for asking. So that gives us 8 businesses in California in the last 9 years. And we have one in Scottsdale, Arizona. For those of you going down for spring training,
We are
stop
going
by.
down. Marcus and I are both going down. We'll have to
Great.
swing by.
We'll be there.
All right. And then you guys have one. Are you talking about one potentially in Texas?
We have one now in Dallas, Texas. That's in the uptown area of Dallas. On Oaklawn Avenue, and then we're in development now to start construction within the next 2 months in Austin, Texas at the Domain Center.
Oh, so exciting. Yeah, we've got an office in Austin, and what a great place to visit, hang out, and obviously now we're going to eat some good food, something besides barbecue. It's not barbecue in Austin there, is it?
No barbecue. I'll leave that to the pit masters that want to stay up all night.
No doubt. Now, so you've grown this. You're a large employer. How many employees do you guys have?
We have 1,000, I think.
Okay, so you have 1,000 employees, 10 restaurants. You were farm to fork before farm to fork was cool, but when you got started was not the best time in the world to be starting businesses. Didn't you start just before the financial crisis hit us?
We did. We opened October 28th, 2007.
Oh.
It was a great day to open, and in the next 18 months were proved all the metal that we had, and a great partner in Paul who said, just stay the course. Don't change anything. Get more intense. Get more involved. Hire more people.
Wow. So in the face of a tremendous financial crisis, you just kept investing.
Paul kept investing. He was the biggest cheerleader. He starts every meeting I have with him is, I remember telling you the economy would get better, and we're still waiting for the economy to get better, but we just keep rolling.
But as an entrepreneur and a family man, you had to make personal sacrifices during that time too. Tell me what that was like for you and your family.
Oh, it was, it still is a lot of, it's great news now is that we have a lot of people that help share the burden of it. But when you first open a restaurant, you're really, entrepreneurially, you're doing everything. I mean, the accounting, the advertising, you're doing the work in the kitchen, you're doing the work in the dining room, you're picking wines, you're shaking hands, and we did a lot of that the first 2 years in Roseville because really that was the option. There was no failure, was not an option. And so we just had to really work, and we're still working really hard at what we do. I mean, I'm on the road 3 out of 4 weeks a month and building restaurants and coaching folks and building relationships with the producers that are struggle sometimes to keep up with the demand for our all natural products and the quality of greens and vegetables and a beef that we need to serve what it is on our menu.
As entrepreneurs, so often we start businesses and we run into difficulty. We have to overcome things. And so often it happens at the beginning when you're trying to figure it out. So you had the double whammy of the financial crisis at the same time. So what gave you the personal strength to fight through that?
I don't know. It was my dream, but it was raining one day when we first opened, and I stepped outside of the restaurant, and I swear to God, the sun came up, and there was this giant rainbow, right? And I just said, if I could follow that rainbow to the pot that everybody always talks is going to be there, we're going to be okay. And there was days at Paul Martin's where nobody. I mean, I'm serious. It was empty, right? And I was internally so angry that nobody would come and try what we had to offer. And then, slowly people began to come, and word got out that you could trust us, that we weren't just another restaurant that was self-promoting, that we were really promoting what we were doing, we were promoting. And our employees began to buy in that, they didn't change. They started this way, but they didn't change. Even in the course of the financial recession, we added servers and we had meetings and told them that while other people are laying people off, we're going to hire the best of the people laid off and continue to build, our group of people, and many of which still work in our original employees in our restaurant. So I just think you have to believe in what you're doing, and excellent, being good. Is it's the devil connected to excellence. So, if you're say it's good enough, you're going to fail. If good is good, then good is failure. Excellence is what wins the day. Every day, you have to believe that excellent work always wins. And it's not easy because it's easy to give up. It's easy to give in. It's easy to cut corners. It's just so easy to be okay. But okay doesn't ever win a game. Ever, ever, ever.
Okay does not ever win a game. Good enough is never good enough. I'm Mark Haney. We're here with the founding partner of Paul Martin's Restaurants, Mr. Brian Bennett, and we will be back to hear more of his story in just a moment. Welcome back. And we are here with Brian Bennett, founding partner, not the CEO of Paul Martin's chain of restaurants. And we're talking with Brian about the business that he's built. And I want to go into your kitchen. When we came in to Paul Martin's to visit, you had such hospitality, and you took us in the kitchen. Tell us about this kitchen Paul Martin's has.
Well, Paul Martin's has we're very proud of it. First of all, that's why I take people in all the time, because it's a from-scratch kitchen. And there's no freezers in our kitchen. There's no cans in our kitchen. And we actually make everything from scratch every day in our restaurant. So that's what you got to see.
And that's not, making stuff from scratch is not as inexpensive as going out and buying it pre-made.
Well, it takes us, for example, we have a kettle in our kitchen that makes all our stocks. The stocks are the basis for soups and sauces that we use. And so it takes 24 hours to make beef stock. It takes 24 hours to make chicken stock. And it takes half a day to make vegetable stock. And so every 3 days, one of those stocks is being made. You have to roast bones. You have to cook the bones, and you have to put the bones in the pot with the mirepoix, which is vegetables, and get flavor and cook them slowly. Then you have to strain it and reduce it and put it through a sieve and make sure it's clean. Then you have to reduce it this stuff you can buy, most restaurants buy it pre-done or in a powdered form that's very salty or stock, and we just don't do that. I mean, we melt chocolate to make ganache so we can make our own chocolate cakes. We're crazy. Like I said earlier, to be excellent is not so easy. You could be good lots of places, but we try to be excellent everywhere. We try really hard to be better.
Well, the tortillas one of us ordered tortillas or tacos, and I think the handmade tortillas were a big hit.
So we hand make tortillas and the dressing. So we bake both flour and corn tortillas every morning. You can go in there and watch them. They make hundreds, and they hand roll every one of them, and they cook them on a comel, which is a big flat steel, hot surface, and they toast them, and then they wrap them up for service.
How important is it for an entrepreneur to know every step of a process in his business? Because you know everything from what happens first thing in the morning till the end of the day and everywhere in between.
Well, I think, to really be hands-on is you're not relying on other people to give you information. You can gather information from people that have they're much smarter than you and know a lot of specialty items. But really, to be a true entrepreneur, I think it's best that you really understand the enterprise that you're getting into and be able to understand it front to back. It doesn't mean that you don't hire people to manage those processes, but it does mean that you can understand them when they talk, and you can draw your own conclusions. You're not leaning on other people to make decisions. I mean, the person I lean on to make decisions is Paul Fleming, who has a restaurant pedigree, and we have other partners now that are world class when it comes to restaurants, and that's what they do. And so when we have conversations as entrepreneurs amongst us at a board meeting, you're talking to people that have they're better at what they do than I am, and I think I'm really good at what I do. And so it's to really know something from start to finish, from soup to nuts, as they say, I think is the power. Especially if you have that excellence, mark of excellence on everything you do,
Your operating partner in Roseville, at the Roseville office or Roseville restaurant, is Joey Farias, and he happens to be a friend of my nephew's, and he's the operating partner. Tell us about Joey.
Joey got hired 10 years ago to be a food server for us at Paul Martin's, and he didn't buy it. He was one of those guys that didn't buy into the whole everything's going to be fresh. Like, I've heard it before. This will change shortly. And Joey was Joey.
Yeah, he's a football player, stud athlete,
right? That
type
whole
guy,
thing, big attitude, whatever. And I still kid him. Like the first day of the meeting, his arms slung over the back. He's got his hoodie on. He's just sitting there, like kids are about to do. And now, 9 years later, he's running a very busy restaurant with 120 employees. He's responsible for everything in that restaurant. He works every day, it seems. I mean, I'm happy the guy gets his days off, but he's really learned the business over the last 7 years, and when he made a conscious decision to not be a key carrier, to be a business owner, and that really is the difference. And Joey and I talk most days for half hour, 40 minutes every day, and not that we're just talking now. I'm surprised, I'm shocked, I am it's kind of like I tell them, you got to be like a woodpecker. You got to just keep pounding on things. You cannot stop working on. You never can relax. In order to be excellent, you have to go after it. So he's just one of those guys. It's a story that we hope to be able to tell many times at Paul Martin's, where people that came to work for us that learned the discipline of business and self-discipline, and he's been able to do it. And we could not be prouder of Joey Ferris.
How integral is that structure to the scalability of the company? You've got 10 restaurants with partners at the different restaurants. Is that what's going to allow you to scale? Because I know you guys are still in growth mode.
Growth mode is one restaurant a year. I think that's a reasonable growth, but it's still 10% growth. There's not a lot of companies growing 10% a year. And when we had one open too, that was 100% growth rate. So I mean, right now we're very cautious about how we're growing our business, but I think having operating partners at that level that understand the way we do business is an important step in what we're doing. And as we grow, we are able to cast our net a little wider and be able to have more people. The pool is a little larger for us to develop from. Because if you have 10 restaurants, all you need is 5 of the next people in line to take Joey's place or to go and open a restaurant for you and be that operating partner. Their agreement with us as operating partners allows them to share in the profits that they create, and in a way that other restaurant companies don't do. We don't have a lot of middle management follow them around, and we prefer to give the guys that run the restaurants on a daily basis, not only our operating partners, but our chef partners, a percentage of the business, so they feel like their ownership, they're actually really in the deal. And without having to put up equity, they have to put up a lot of sweat, and that's kind of the deal that they get. They got to be entrepreneurs or they're not getting it in.
You bet.
Yeah.
How important is charisma to running Paul Martin's?
I think that, if you look at Joey or you look at any of us that are in the business at Paul Martin's in leadership roles, we all aspire to be grateful to everybody that comes in that's in our employ. We have employees, we have investors, and we have guests. And all 3 of those people need to be treated with the same respect. Every decision has to be made with those 3 groups of people in mind, because it's easy to make a decision to benefit the shareholders, but if it doesn't benefit the other 2, it's a poor decision. So to be charismatic and get people to follow you and listen to you and be able to set the pace and the tone of the business, I think is really important.
What's a board meeting like for a restaurant chain of 10?
Sometimes it's great. Every 4 weeks we're giving ourselves a report card. So sometimes it's great and we can pat ourselves on the back. Unfortunately, we're all seasoned guys, and so we know that tomorrow you're only as good today as you were yesterday. You cannot rest. You can never stop pushing. So there's strategy in how well we're doing. How is our development timeline? I don't mean physical development, I mean personal development. Who do we have that we can we go build a restaurant? I mean, who's going to run that restaurant? We just can't go find these people on the street. We have to develop internally. Most of the most successful folks that work at Paul Martin's have spent 3 and 4 and 5 years there, because it takes a year to get what we do and to understand it. Then it gets, then you can start really learning the business. You got to learn to shake hands. We ask people really to be, Joey, he's out in the dining room every day shaking hands. He's leading his people by example. He's running around. He's delivering food. He's doing whatever it takes. That's an old school restaurateur. And that's what it takes to run Paul Martin's. There's not a lot of guys telling Joey what to do, because Joey's able to be self-motivated. And that's the kind of people we're looking for.
All right, let's talk about Brian Bennett and why you make such a great entrepreneur. From what I see is you're traveling around the country, working on your restaurants, opening up new restaurants, motivating the people, making sure that the quality is there. Why are you so driven? Well, so many people, get one branch, one office, and they're content.
Man, I can't stop. I love doing what we're doing. I told you earlier today, or off the air, that I love watching our people prosper. Yes, it's great to say I'm part of this and I was able to incubate this, but there are so many people now at Paul Martin's. There's so many people behind the scenes helping get this done, that to be a cheerleader and wander around and develop product lines and relationships with people to help support the team that's going it's the best drug in the world. It keeps you so motivated and so focused and so excited. I love getting up every day and I love going to work, and it's I can't see ever stopping. Why would I want to not have a good time every day that I go to work? Most days, there's those days that are challenges, to manage, but most days it's a gas.
One final question before we wrap up, Brian. You talked about the rainbow, and there's something there at the end of the rainbow, and you're digging in and you're working hard. And when a lot of guys might be thinking about coasting, what's it look like at the end of the rainbow?
I don't know. I can't wait to get there, but it's a long way off, right?
Is it travel through Napa? And
at the end of the rainbow, if I had my wish, is to take my wife and go sit on a beach and enjoy the warmth someplace and not have to answer a cell phone.
Very cool. And I know you've been married for 30 years, and you've got a young daughter that's a cheerleader at Whitney. You're a local guy, so you've started a business right here in the Sacramento area, and you're growing it beyond. Very proud to have you on the show, Brian. I want to thank you for coming. When we come back, we are going to meet the swag man. I'm Mark Haney. You're listening to Entrepreneurs Unlimited on Sports 1140 KHTK, streaming live, podcast, and YouTube at haneybiz.com. All right, and welcome back. And so many times on this show, I am reminding myself that I'm not necessarily teaching. Sometimes I feel like I'm teaching a little bit, and I don't really want to sound that way, because I think as you get older, there's so many things that really, we're not learning them. We're being reminded of what we already know. And I think when you start talking about charisma and likability and things like that, yeah, we already kind of know our style. We know what works, what doesn't work, and what's Mark Haney going to teach me about charisma? I'm not going to teach you a thing, okay? And I don't think I'm trying to teach you anything. I mean, I think sometimes I'm reminding myself of who I want to be. And so as we talk about shaking hands and fist bumps and high fives, and you know what? I don't have the answer to that. I'm awkward when it comes to that. It's just who I am. I don't know how hard to squeeze a guy's hand, and whether to shake my hand out when it's to a woman, or I don't know. And I guess what I've learned after 52 years, that I need to remind myself, and the people in this room have reminded me, just be me.
Absolutely.
Just be me. Be there. Be me when I'm shaking hands or fist bumping. Be me if I'm working through an important decision or an important negotiation. I can't pretend I'm going to be somebody else. Be good cop, get bad cop. I'm not that type of guy. I just got to be me. And I don't know why we all probably at times we get nervous and we think about, hey, how are we going to play the game? And so many times it comes back to that reminder of just be yourself. Forget the manipulative strategy. Give them a hug. Do the uncomfortable handshake. Just be you. But I was talking to Jason Hartman at the Kings game the other night. He was nice enough to invite us to the suite, and we had a great time. And I was telling him about the topic of the show being charisma. And, Jason said it's kind of simple. It might not be easy, but it's kind of simple. Give a bleep, right? Give a rip. And I thought, Jason, that's so basic. If you just care about what other people are thinking about and what's important to them, there's where the charisma starts coming in. There's where the likability factor starts coming in. Care about somebody. Give a rip. And I thought that was so basic. And we had a great time in Vegas. Marcus and I were in Vegas the other day, and this whole story sort of resonates with me because we were in Vegas having a big party for a bunch of casinos. And Uriah was there signing autographs and being Mr. Charismatic, and our team was hitting on all cylinders. Todd Flowers, the rock star CEO, making everybody feel good. Our sales reps were engaged with their customers, and it was obvious as I sort of looked around with a cold Bud Light in my hand, and I looked around and I thought, you know what? These people really like us. I was so impressed with the team, and it reminded me, I'm going to flashback 6 months ago to the summer, or maybe it's 8 to 10 months ago this summer. We were sitting around my living room, and we were having a discussion, and we were talking about what we wanted to do. And there was one thing different about that day. Well, two things. One, we were in my living room. We just had a barbecue, which that was kind of unique.
A company meeting in your living room.
Company meeting for SSI, our surveillance company, in our living room, and we had some of the leadership guys there. And there was something that kind of ignited us, kind of sparked us. And it was an individual, and his name is Daniel Jackson, right? So our team, we got a strong team. We've been in business for a long time. And then all of a sudden we add this spark, right? Daniel. And Daniel comes in, and we're all sitting around talking about the dream of building surveillance company and how great we're going to be. And the thing that happened was people, they listened to each other. We went around and we talked about what we wanted the company to be, and we began to listen. And that listening led to people being vulnerable, people sort of letting their guard down, right? So we listened, and we let our guard down at the same time. And we started talking about the rainbow, and what might be at the end of the rainbow, similar to the way Mr. Bennett was talking about Paul Martin's and what SSI could be. And something magical happened that day in the living room, and it was really invisible. But as people listened to one another, there was a bonding beyond charisma. Charisma had manifested itself into commitment. Yes. From charisma to commitment, from listening to letting go of our insecurities to being vulnerable. And that bond, that magical bond that you cannot see, you can't see it until you go to Las Vegas and you see the team shaking hands and hugging and high-fiving and flumping and all this stuff happening when relationships are getting built. And it started with a handful of people committed to a cause, listening and letting go of their insecurities, listening and letting people in to their hearts. So it was a beautiful thing to see in Las Vegas. I enjoyed it. We did a lot of handshaking, fist bumping, and I got to tell you, I'm so proud of my team. I'm so proud of what we're doing here. Lean on me, folks. If you are out there and thinking about, I need to build something, I need to build a dream, think Haney Biz. Think Entrepreneurs Unlimited. Never above you, never below you, and always by your side.